Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Don Marsh. The Art Museum is home to 3 ancient Egyptian mummies that are objects of continuing scrutiny. They've been subject to CT scans in the hope these sophisticated electronic pictures will tell us more about the mummified remains. Our science reporter Eli Chen has covered this story and joins me in studio. It's Egypt Day at St. Louis on the Air, Eli.
Indeed, Don.
Fascinating stuff. What were the folks at the museum hoping to learn with these CT scans?
Yeah, so, with these mummies, there's so much you can actually gather from the tomb, what was buried with them, but you really don't know what's inside of them unless you unwrap them. And, our curators like Lisa Chakmak, like you heard just now, they don't want to do that. They want to preserve these remains. So what these CT scans do, and if for those who are not familiar with CT scans, oftentimes doctors will order these to look at a part of your body that might be undergoing maybe some pain, maybe to check out a tumor or to diagnose pneumonia, that type of thing. But these CT scans in this context were used to scan entire mummies, just to see what was inside and to see how Egyptians buried the dead.
When you say want to see what's inside, are you talking about internal organs or just what's underneath the linen?
All of it, really. For example, the oldest mummy, whose name was Henet Wejibu, was a woman from the 13th century. They looked at all kinds of things, and the most interesting thing about her was that her brain was still in there. And I remember learning when I was in grade school that ancient Egyptians, removed the brain through a hook through the nose. And her brain was still there. And the radiologist I interviewed, Dr. Michelle Miller-Thomas, over at Washington University, she was really surprised to find out that a lot of the brain was still intact.
Apparently the Egyptians didn't think the brain was a very important organ.
No, they didn't. They thought all the thinking, all the personality took place in the heart, and that was not removed. They thought that the brain played some role in terms of maintaining the body's sense of balance. So they did notice, like, if someone hit their head on something, they would have a concussion. They would sort of not be as stable. But everything they thought was centered in the heart.
What would happen if they unwrapped one of these mummies?
Well, as Jonathan Elias, that's the director of the ACME Mummy Studies Consortium in Pennsylvania, told me, you would just be left with a bunch of, linen and debris and all kinds of stuff. These bodies are all around 3,000 years old, and there's really not much left other than bone and really just dehydrated organs.
We have just about a minute left, and I know an important part of this discovery process now is the CD printer. What are they doing?
The 3D printer, yeah.
They're
taking things that they see in the CT scans, and they're printing them out, such as a heart scarab that was in the heart of one of the mummies. And there's something more that you can learn from just touching like an object that was printed out, and they can see things that were actually even painted on them, which you can't see in the CT scans.
The scarab, that's an insect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a beetle, and there was one mummy named Amenastaurinakht that had a heart scarab, and essentially it was I think it was part of their magical beliefs that it protected the heart.
Yeah, you learn an awful lot on an assignment like that, don't you?
Sure, definitely.
Yeah. Well, when are they going to finalize what they're doing with all of this? Do we know?
They're still studying them. Right now they're starting to send information to the Egyptologists I mentioned earlier, Jonathan Elias in Pennsylvania. He actually hasn't seen some of these 3D printed objects yet, so they want to know what these things are and what the Egyptians believed at the time.
Your complete post is on our website at stlpublicradio.org. More fascinating stuff. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you. St. Louis on the Air is produced by Alex Hoyer, Evie Hemphill, and Lara Hamden, with production assistance from Aaron Dorr and Charlie McDonald. The executive producer is Mary Edwards. St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio 90.7 KWMU. Thank you for listening. I'm Don Marsh.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.